welcome to another round of Sports Views. Tonight I'm reviewing Colorado Rapids 0, Toronto FC 0, ends in a draw. Pretty drab game, pretty boring game, but Toronto gets a point. They keep their good form going, they keep their respectable form going, and if they beat Cincinnati, they'll be over them on Wednesday. As it stands, I think it's still Cincinnati. I don't think the Canadian Championship's going to get scheduled on Tuesday. But we'll get into that at the end, because I was going to talk about what I'm doing Tuesday. So again, halftime ends 0-0. Full-time ends 0-0. Now you could say Toronto FC deserved a penalty earlier or at the end of the second half, and they should have got it. I think we got screwed over. Should have been checked on VAR. They should have given the penalty. Who knows if we would have scored it, but I kind of think we would. I think we deserve that penalty, and we should have won. But 0-0. Well, the way the game played out, it was a good score line. We took it to the second, third best team in the West, up there with Kansas City and Seattle. One of the best teams in the league, we took it to them. We beat the second best team in the East last week. We beat York United in midweek, and we drew one of the best teams in the league, who were also fighting against Nashville for a fourth place in the league, which could qualify you for Champions League if New England, Kansas City, and Seattle, one of them win MLS Cup, which I would guess so at this point. I want to see Nashville in the Champions League, so thank you, Toronto, at least for doing that part. Come on, Nashville. I want the final to be Toronto-Nashville next year. I think we make the final. If the way we rebuild, I think we make the final. I think Toronto will be just fine next year. You see, we still have talent on the team. That's the point I'm trying to make. Stats are as follows, by the way. 10 shots to 8, 1 shot on target to 2, 63% possession to 37% possession, 592 passes to 369 passes, 88% pass accuracy to 75% pass accuracy, 7 fouls to 6, 1 yellow card to 1, 0 red cards to 0, 1 offside to 0, 3 corners to 2. With that said, this game was okay to watch. I wouldn't say it was a very good game for the teams that played. I enjoyed being live for it. This game, Toronto gets a point. I'm happy with that. This game wasn't the best. There isn't really much to say. Colorado didn't really threaten much. They held the ball. Toronto tried to hit on the break. They had a good couple of chances, but even then, Toronto wasn't that threatening as it is. They also really weren't that threatening as it is. Both teams just didn't look up to snuff. TFC rotated. They didn't put out their best players for more than about 25 minutes, most of them, due to the York game, and I guess Cincy. They're more hopeful that they could actually beat Cincy once this year, the way they're on form, which I like that. And Colorado just didn't care. The way Colorado played, they just went around saying, okay, we're good. We're in a playoff spot. They should be winning games instead of drawing. They don't need to be drawing if you're a Colorado fan. But they drew. And this was a very good opportunity to them to win. Even though Toronto's on good form recently, in my eyes. Toronto's on good form. I think they're a very good team right now. Not a very good team right now, but they're showing they have talent. They're showing they can fight. They're showing that they are respectable. That there is things that they can keep. That it isn't all trashable going into next year. There is talent there. There is hope there. There is fight there. And that is exactly what the team is proving. I want them to look respectable for the rest of this season. I want them to look good for the rest of this season. The one thing that's really realistic right now, with this draw especially, is look good for the rest of the year. Don't win the spoon. Win the Canadian Championship. Get back to CONCACAF. That's basically, I'd be over the moon with that at this point. And then I'll be completely over the moon with it once Montreal gets knocked out of the playoffs, but that's neither here nor there. With that said, the things that I hear about TFC in the offseason, I think that's good for the rebrand. Not the rebrand, the rebuild, the reload. Whether the manager is Gattuso, Pirlo, or Cannavaro, I think that's way better than Bob Bradley. It has to be one of them. If it's not one of them, I'd rather it still be Perez. Javinko coming back, that would be great. I think he still has something to give, and he wants to come home. There you go. I think they'll get a defender. I think hopefully they draft correctly in the super draft, unless they trade that pick for the Javinko allocation rights. With that said, Toronto, they have talent there. They still have talent. They still have fight. They still have good mentality. They haven't given up, and I like to see that they're still on good form, considering the Canadian Championship will be played sometime at the end of the international break. They don't want to play during the break, so there will be some shuffling around, and also the final. I want them to keep this going into the Canadian Championship final. Prove that you could beat teams, and prove that you could keep up with the press and keep up with offensive play, which they did here. At times, because Pacific is a very good team. Now, they are a CPL team, but Pamudaka's men is a very strong side, and it's a lot stronger than York. And depending on where they play, that gives me what my odds are for that game. If they're playing at Starlight Stadium, that's a 65% chance of winning. BMO, 85-90. I don't think Starlight would be good for TFC, but with that said, I like what TFC is doing right now. They're playing better. They're playing more respectably. They don't look so given up and so downtrodden and so bad like they have for a lot of the Armas era and a very good portion of the Perez era. But Perez is still a better manager statistically, and I think by the eye test as well. And you could see that from the touchline talk that Gareth Wheeler did with Javier Perez. That was a very good interview. I enjoyed listening to it, and it probably makes me want to see Perez still be around the team in some form next year, even if he's not the manager, whether it's academy director or TFC2 manager or assistant coach. I want Perez to stay in Toronto. I don't want him to leave. I don't. I like Javier Perez. He's a good guy. He's a good coach. He knows his stuff. I don't think he's that bad, as some people are trying to point out. I think some people are against him, but at this point, it's done. What's done is done, and Armas pretty much done it. And these players pretty much screwed their way out of it too, with whatever was left. That Philly game ruined the season. That Philly game was the true end of this season, I think. Them getting smacked in Philly was the true end of this season. They fell off hard after that. And you'd hope, and now they're starting to bounce back at a really bad time. If they had bounced back maybe 2-3 games before, I'd still be a little bit hopeful. But they needed to win every game left to have a slim chance. And then, of course, other teams had to drop points. Above them had to drop points. It's pretty much done and dusted. If it was like a 2% chance, it's now a 0.1% chance. We're not mathematically eliminated, but by my count, we are. MLS's count, no. But by my count, we are. And it sucks, but as long as we don't win the spoon, I'm happy with that. As long as we win the Canadian Championship, I'm happy with that. Toronto's been fighting. They looked good tonight. They looked respectable tonight. I shouldn't say good. They looked respectable. They did what they had to do to get the draw. It was gritty. It was fight. It didn't look pretty, but it was good enough, frankly. It was good enough. So with that said, that's all I got to say about this game. This game was pretty drab, a stalemate, and at least we didn't lose. We got a clean sheet. We looked respectable. I'm happy with that, and that's basically all you can be happy about at this point. So with that said, if you like this video, like it, share, subscribe. You know what it is. Tell all your friends. Check out my Patreon. $5, $10, or $20 a month. Anything's appreciated. Help support the channel. Be awesome if you do. Also support by liking, sharing, commenting, putting this in playlists. Super chats on the live streams. Hopefully on Tuesday we get a couple for the CONCACAF League second leg between Independiente and Forge. And I'll get into that later. Or I'll get into that in a couple of seconds. But also share this with your friends. All that. On Tuesday, what I am going to do, as it stands right now, is the second leg of Independiente versus Forge in the CONCACAF League, live in RSR, because they have not announced the semifinal of the Canadian Championship for Toronto FC. They will not be playing on Tuesday, we think. They could announce it tomorrow. But as it stands right now, at the time of recording this video, on Tuesday, it's just Forge Independiente Leg 2 live in RSR. That's the way we are right now. If they announce that Toronto's playing on Tuesday in the Canadian Championship against Pacific, I will do that game, and hopefully I could do both, but I don't think that'll be the case. Even if they do announce a date on Sunday, I do not think it'll be Tuesday. I think it'll be after the break, a little bit after. I don't think it'll be during the international break for either club. The MLS clubs don't want that, and most of our Canadian players would be gone anyway, so that would be sort of breaking the rules. You can't really get away with that unless you just play TFC2 players. But then again, I don't think we're playing in the international break, and I don't think we're playing on Tuesday, as in Toronto against Pacific. I don't think that's happening. So I think it's just Forge Independiente Leg 2, RSR, and live on Tuesday night, and that's what we'll do. So with that said, check it out. I'm Ryan, and I'm out. Peace. See you later.